The ice cream truck is an idyllic image of childhood, conjuring visions of sweet treats and for many happy memories. But for some, the cheerful melodies bring memories not of joy but tragedy. Two young girls, one 11, one 9, waited at the corner near Gilbert Road and Southern Avenue in their Mesa, Arizona neighborhood for the ice cream man one cool January evening. The elder turned circles in the street on a bicycle, while the younger complained of the chill and returned home for a coat. When she did, her mother asked her to call her sister in for dinner. But when she went back to that street corner, only 5 houses away from their own, she found only the bicycle lying on its side in the street, hastily abandoned, and its wheels still spinning. It has been 18 years since that January evening, but no other trace of Mikelle Biggs has been found. Mesa Police calculated that Kimber Biggs was separated from her sister Mikelle for less than 90 seconds. Yet in that time, Mikelle vanished so completely with no witnesses or trace beyond the discarded bike and Mikelle's 2 quarters meant to be given to the ice cream man who had never appeared, that the authorities remain baffled to this day. The plastic-wrapped bicycle remains in police evidence to this day in case new forensic collection techniques become available in the future, according to Mesa Police Detective Dominic Kaufman. He told ABC News in May 2009, quote, "It's been checked for fingerprints, DNA, and obviously we still keep it packaged after that initial processing, just in case there's some new technology that comes about that we don't know about today," unquote. What could have happened to Mikelle in so short a time? Mikelle Biggs was, according to her family, a quiet, intelligent, and artistic young girl who got straight A's in school, but sociable and not above playing pranks on her little sister. Mikelle played the clarinet in her school band and was taking piano lessons from a neighbor. She loved Disney movies and wanted to be an animator when she grew up. She was the eldest of 4 children born to Darian and Tracy Biggs, and was named after her father, whose first name is Michael, though he goes by Darian. Her sister Kimber was 9 when Mikelle vanished, her brother Nathan 4, and youngest sister Linnell only 1. The Biggses are Mormon, which is unsurprising given that Mesa, Arizona has a large population of practicing members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I found 2 different recorded times for when Mikelle went missing, the first being 4 p.m., the second being 5:50 p.m. Given that it was growing dark, however, the second time is more likely for that area of the country at that time of year. Kimber recalled in an interview with a news station in the Phoenix area, quote, "The sun was setting, it was slightly foggy. The street lights were coming on and my brand new bike was in the road with the tires spinning," unquote. This suggests 2 things. First, it was more likely 5:50 than 4 p.m., and second, Kimber must have just missed the abduction, given that the tire was still spinning. Reports suggest that the quarters Mikelle had been holding were discarded in the street as well. One investigator on the case, Detective Jerry Gissel, now retired and working as Chief of the Office of Child Welfare Investigations at the Arizona Department of Economic Security, stated in an interview with ABC News, quote, "She was running from somebody, based on the evidence that we do have. It wasn't somebody that she knew or wanted to be with. She dropped the bike, she was running toward home, she dropped the quarters, and it was swift. And somebody grabbed her, and I believe abducted her in a car and drove away with her," unquote. While I agree with Detective Gissel that Mikelle was abducted in a car, especially since canine units brought to the scene lost her scent after a short distance, it is my personal opinion that she wouldn't have dropped the bike. First, an 11-year-old would know that a bike would be faster than running, and 2 eyewitnesses, Kimber and a neighbor who saw Mikelle through a kitchen window shortly before the abduction, stated Mikelle was on the bike, riding in circles. Second, Kimber has stated the wheel was still spinning when she returned. That suggests to me someone was riding it and Mikelle was abducted from it. When Kimber was unable to find Mikelle to call her into dinner, her mother asked her to check with a neighbor to see if Mikelle had gone there. It was the neighbor's eldest son who found Mikelle's discarded quarters and instructed Kimber to go tell her mother. That was when they knew something was wrong, and Tracy Biggs contacted the police and her husband Darian, who said he would come home from work at once. The Mesa Police Department began what is still known as the most intense investigation in their history. They reportedly collected more than 800 pieces of evidence and have received over 10,000 tips as of January 2018. Within a half hour of the report, there was a helicopter in the air broadcasting over a loudspeaker that they were looking for a child. Officers conducted door-to-door searches, and flyers with Mikelle's photo were handed out. This photo was visible everywhere around town, from shop and car windows to freeway billboards. The National Missing Children Organization told the newspaper The Arizona Republic in 1999 that the reaction to Mikelle's disappearance was one of the largest the group had seen for a missing child. I believe the newspaper means the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, since no organization seems to exist by the name the newspaper cites, so by that point the organization had been in existence for 15 years and had seen a lot of missing children cases, but Mikelle's was one of the largest to that time. Though there were no witnesses to Mikelle's abduction, some of the thousands of tips were investigated as being potentially relevant. There was a report of a copper-colored Jeep with a light top in the area just before Mikelle's disappearance. However, investigators located the Jeep and driver, and the driver was cleared of suspicion. Another tip came in to look for Mikelle at a Motorola plant, but an exhaustive search proved the tip to be a hoax. An email came in from someone claiming to be the abductor, prompting a SWAT team to swarm a Phoenix home after the sender was tracked. The sender turned out to be a 12-year-old child. Another hoax. The area around Mesa and the Phoenix Valley, indeed all of Arizona, were searched as best authorities could, and tips led authorities even well outside the state, but they turned up nothing. A persistent suspect for a year was Darian Biggs, Mikelle's father. He had claimed to be at work when Tracy had called him, but he had actually been at a friend's house, and during the investigation it would come to be publicly known that he had been having an affair not long before. Darian also failed a voluntary polygraph test. However, I would like to remind viewers that polygraph tests are falsely referred to as lie detector tests, when they in fact detect emotion. When Darian was told his results were inconclusive, he told reporters, quote, "That doesn't surprise me. I figured it would be because they said I was too angry," unquote. Darian complied voluntarily with police investigators and never so much as retained an attorney. When detectives had Darian retrace his actual steps the evening of Mikelle's disappearance, they concluded there was no possible way he could have abducted and killed Mikelle and hidden her body in the time before arriving at the house to assist in the search. He was kept under surveillance for a year before he was officially cleared as a suspect. But the fact of the matter is, Mikelle would have had no reason to flee from her father so quickly that she would have discarded her quarters and tried to bike or run away. The two purportedly had a very good relationship. She would have voluntarily entered a vehicle with him. The neighbors were naturally alarmed by Mikelle's disappearance and had neighborhood watch meetings. One man, G. Blaylock, who the Biggses didn't personally know but lived only 2 blocks away from them, was quoted as saying, "If you're my neighbor and I see that you're living next to me and I see something suspicious going on, I guarantee you I'll be calling 911, unquote. D. Blaylock was also a registered sex offender, but in 1999 the state of Arizona did not require sex offenders to make themselves known to the community. There are mixed reports of how he was viewed by neighbors. Some suggest he was a nuisance and a drunk, others that he was friendly and personable. But he seemed to be stalking neighbor Susan Quinnett, who had reported him to the police for coming on to her in her own yard despite the fact he was married. She'd even told Blaylock's wife. Neither police nor apparently the wife followed up on Quinnett's complaints. In September of that year, 8 months after Mikelle's disappearance, Quinnett entered her kitchen to find Blaylock hiding behind her fridge with his pants unzipped, exposing himself to her. He attacked her and beat her. According to Quinnett, quote, "He tried to snap my neck 3 times. He did successfully break it in one place. He put me in a chokehold. He choked me until I gave over and fainted," unquote. While she was unconscious, according to reports, Blaylock raped her. He then set the house on fire in an attempt to destroy the evidence. Fortunately, Quinnett regained consciousness and was able to call for help. In the ambulance, allegedly, she made the connection that her attacker could be responsible for Mikelle's disappearance as well. Dee Blaylock is currently serving a 187-year sentence at the state maximum security prison in Florence, Arizona, for the attack on Susan Quinnett. Darian Biggs wrote to Blaylock in prison asking him if he was responsible for what happened to Mikelle. Blaylock wrote back and in his letter said, quote, "I need to make things right with you and your family," unquote. However, when Darian and Tracy Biggs visited him in prison, all Blaylock did was deny everything. The Biggses feel he was lying. Tracy Biggs told ABC News, quote, "I remember telling Darian, I think he did it. His movements, his jitteriness, he couldn't look you straight in the eye. Just things that would indicate that he was lying," unquote. However, there is no direct evidence to connect Blaylock to the crime. There are, though, a couple of odd coincidences. Blaylock had never, so far as anyone knows, met Mikelle Biggs, but Mikelle's piano teacher lived across the street from him. And while authorities searched all of the homes in the area, including Blaylock's, they were not permitted to search a trailer in his backyard. By the time they acquired a search warrant for the trailer, it had mysteriously vanished and hasn't turned up in the years since. Blaylock did have an alibi. He claimed that he had been in his garage the entire evening and night working on a lawnmower he was repairing and watching the Arizona Cardinal football game on TV, and his wife corroborated this alibi. But as alibis go, it isn't ironclad. The Biggs family believes that Mikelle was killed shortly after her abduction, though her body has never been recovered. Officially, she remains listed as missing endangered. On January 2, 2004, the 5th anniversary of Mikelle's disappearance, the Biggses held a memorial service and buried an empty casket. Darian and Tracy Biggs ultimately separated and both moved to Utah, and after their interview with ABC News in 2009, following their meeting with Dee Blaylock in prison, have kept away from the media. Kimber Biggs, though, keeps her sister's story alive, both in the news and through a Facebook page called Justice for Mikelle Biggs, which I have linked in the description. Kimber has stated she blamed herself for many years for Mikelle's disappearance and presumed death, since she was the last person to see her. That maybe if she'd stayed, Mikelle would still be around. It wasn't until she was in her middle teens that she came to accept that there was nothing she, as a 9-year-old child, could have done to prevent what happened to her sister. She's a child herself now and knows that her sister's abduction has affected her parenting style, making her afraid to let her son out of her sight and keeping him close. At the same time, she tells him about his aunt. She told a reporter with the Arizona Republic, quote, "He calls her an angel, his guardian angel. He knows she's not here. I'm pretty honest with him. He knows that a bad person took her away when she was really little," unquote. Kimber still visits Mikelle's grave, now with her son, empty though it may be, because it's the only place now where she can feel close to her lost sister. Nevertheless, I would like to remind you that even though situations might seem hopeless, there is still a possibility that Mikelle Biggs is alive. Let's not forget J.C. Lee Dugard, who was held captive for 18 years. Even if she is deceased, at the very least, her family should have her remains returned to them. Mikelle Diane Biggs was born on May 31, 1987, and disappeared on January 2, 1999. Today, she would be 30 years old. She had sandy brown hair and hazel eyes and prominent front teeth. She had pierced ears and several moles on the left side of her neck. At the time of her disappearance, her hair was growing out of a perm. In 1999, she was 4 foot 8 inches tall and weighed 85 pounds, or 142 centimeters tall and 39 kilograms in mass. The Center for Missing and Exploited Children has provided age progressions for what Mikelle might have looked like in 2005 at age 17, and in 2012 at age 25. Mikelle was reportedly wearing a red t-shirt with Lindbergh, the name of her elementary school, printed on it in white, bell-bottom jeans with embroidered seams on the sides of both pant legs, white canvas shoes, a necklace with charms, a purple Barbie watch, and possibly earrings. Dental records are available for comparison, and of course, she has relatives alive for DNA comparison as well. If you have any information regarding the disappearance, abductor, or current location of Mikelle Biggs, please contact the Mesa Police Department at 480-644-2211. While Mikelle's case is considered a cold case, it has not been closed. Whether Mikelle Biggs is alive and has been thus far unable to return to her family, or is deceased, her family deserves answers. More importantly, they deserve closure. Please bear in mind that these are real stories about real people and treat them with the respect they and their families deserve. To contact the authorities regarding this case, their information can be found in the description. Someone out there knows the truth. I only hope that someday they come forward. Thank you, and good night.